Hello there, everyone. Today's episode of Financial Advisors Want to Know. I have Cameo Roberson with me. She's the founder of Atlas Park Consulting, a business coaching and fractional COO agency for financial advisors and wealth management firms. Atlas Park helps leaders execute their growth strategy and drive revenue without feeling overwhelmed, which is what a lot of clients that I talk to experience. So my name's, again, Catherine Tindall. I'm a CPA with Dominion Enterprise Services. We're a tax firm that works for financial advisors. And I wanted to have Cameo on the show because a lot of the clients that I talk to in our practice, it's all operations hiccups and issues and staffing and those kinds of conversations beyond just the tax pieces. So today's episode is going to be all around building client service success and going into her recommendations around things you should be doing in your practice and ways to be thinking about things. So thanks for joining me on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Catherine. I'm excited for our conversation and to be able to share with your audience.
Yeah, so I would love to start at the very beginning, which is client onboarding. I think that that's a good place to start. So what are some smooth onboarding strategies that you have for firms when it comes to, bringing on clients successfully?
Yeah, the moment clients say yes to you and you decide that you want to now start onboarding them, this is where the fun really begins. And so one of the first key strategies that I often tell advisors is, what's your end-to-end process, right? What is your service delivery? What does that actually look like? How are you gathering information from your clients? How are you communicating what you need from them in a way that makes sense for them? And then how are you executing on those onboarding strategies? That's the biggest thing, is having visibility of what you need to get done. Then everything after that becomes much easier to implement and much easier to document. But you got to do that on the front end. What do you need to get done?
Yeah, absolutely. And once you've got that kind of overview process of, okay, this is what each of the touch points is, or, some kind of like workflow map, what have you found to be good tools or things that you recommend a lot, advisors consider when it comes to things you should be implementing in your onboarding process?
Yeah. So after you've figured out, what your onboarding process looks like, you've communicated that to your end client, they're clear, they're excited, they're engaged. Then you want to figure out how you can take all of those steps and translate them into your CRM if they're not already there. Your CRM, in my opinion, and that's client relationship management software, is the hub of your practice. It's the heart of how you're actually getting things done. You'll have the ability to work with your clients more efficiently and more effectively if you do less winging it and actually have these processes established ahead of time in your CRM. Now, they'll never be perfect, right? Because we're always evolving. We're always doing things to make ourselves better. But if you have that initial framework in your CRM, you're going to save yourself a lot of time, a lot of frustration, and you're going to build the basis for that exceptional client experience, right? It's a process. It's not just one and done, but it happens over the course of time. And if you have all these things documented in your CRM, you will make your life easier.
Yeah, and it'll also make you more able to engage your team in doing more things in that process rather than you having to do it all yourself.
Yeah, and that's where I think the overwhelm comes into play. If you have a solo practitioner who maybe have a small team, support staff, but they haven't gotten to the point where everything is living in the CRM, or they haven't figured out what their right delegation plan should be, and so their plate remains full. And that's where a lot of the overwhelm comes. And if they haven't documented anything, it's really easy to miss the mark on those key onboarding strategies. And so teams, advisors in particular, if you can figure out what your processes are ahead of time, then you can even start to delegate certain aspects to your team in advance. And those things can all be captured in your workflows.
Yeah, that's great. And so I think part of that onboarding experience, and maybe this is the next topic for us to go into, is like the communication sequence that you have during onboarding and then the ongoing communication sequence. And I'd love to hear some of your thoughts around some client communication mastery and things that you've found, firms kind of drop the ball on that can be systemized about it.
I think the biggest thing happens in the very, first part of the client engagement, right? The clients have said yes, that they want to work with you, but they're probably still a little bit nervous about how all of this is going to play out. And so thinking about what information they will need from you to kind of, put them at ease and reconfirm that they've made a good decision in working with you. So letting them know around timelines of how long the onboarding, generally speaking, is going to take. If you're going to be opening up accounts, give them a realistic expectation on when they can expect the paperwork from you. If you're going to be transferring assets, let them know exactly the time frame of when those assets could be transferred over once the accounts are open. Now, you also have to think about the type of assets being transferred over. Is this a non-ACAT transfer, or is this a direct ACAT? And set the stage, because that's going to put them at ease. But that also requires you to have to do some legwork behind the scenes to know what those timelines are. So you can look historically at what you've done with previous clients as a great gauge. You can also figure out what your team has experienced. This is key, because a lot of times advisors what I've often seen is they overpromise and underdeliver. And they say the onboarding is going to take 45 days and it's longer than that. So ask your team and get a sense of what the onboarding actually takes. Your clients will appreciate that honesty so much more on the front end, and you won't have to backtrack and apologize later because you were a little bit too ambitious.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And something that we've implemented in the firm is when people want to come, like when firms want to come in as clients for us on the tax side, in that initial conversation, I let them know, like, this is when I'm thinking we'll be able to onboard you and go through the process. And a lot of people kind of hop on a wait list on our side because they do want to work, and you can kind of close the sale, so to speak, but just letting them know, like, hey, when are you looking to get all of this transferred? Okay, let's do it. We'll be able to do it a month from now, and that's when we'll start, or being able to communicate that expectation. Because I've found in my experience, and I'm sure it's similar in yours, that a lot of times once somebody's, sold on that your firm is the right fit for them,
yeah,
the timing isn't as important as just setting the expectations of when things are going to happen so that they're not like, hey, I didn't hear from you. What's going on? Like, they know, oh, I'm scheduled. We're going to start mid-October or whatever it is. And then I'll expect to hear something back, then.
Absolutely. Those expectations are key. And even you mentioned something, around having a wait list, right? You can also figure out what your capacity is, right? In your onboarding, you may have busier times of the year than others. And so you can figure out if it makes sense to put clients, on that wait list, or at least let them know that it may be a little bit of time before you're able to activate their onboarding. And again, it's just communication, right? At the end of the day, communicating expectations, letting your end client know what to expect so that there are no surprises and they don't feel like they're not getting the service that they're paying a lot of good money for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that maybe this goes into the next topic that we were thinking about hitting today, which is talking about client retention excellence and focusing on strategies for, once you've got these clients onboarded, how do you keep them happy? How do you keep them retained? How do you keep that communication going? How do you keep them loyal? So what are some of the strategies that you've found firms successfully deploy when it comes to that continuous improvement? Hey there, Catherine here. Thanks for listening to the conversation. Just wanted to explain a little more about what we do. So I'm a CPA here with Dominion. We're a tax firm that works specifically for financial advisors as they're growing and scaling their practices to help them avoid tax waste, make the right calls, and grow practices that they love. So if you're interested in saving more, you can DM me on LinkedIn with the word guide, and I'll send you over our guide for financial advisors to scale tax efficiently. All my top tips to unlock six-figure savings. Thanks, and keep enjoying the show.
That's a great question, and really good client retention strategies starting the onboarding. Clients want to know that they're in good hands, and so you start to build this rapport with them, and the trust begins to build over the course of time, and they feel like you're really interested in their success. And over time, months, years, even in some client relationships, there's this consistency that's established, and the touch points that you put in in the points of engagement where you're meeting with them. You may remember certain milestones in their lives. These are things that can be captured in your CRM if you're tracking it. And just letting them know that you're really interested in wanting to see them be successful. Those are types of things that you can build into your client retention plan that is currency, basically, that you're building with a client. And over the course of time, you'll begin to see, one, those clients feel really engaged with you. Two, they feel connected, they feel secure, and they want to stay with you. Three, they will then tell others how well they feel served by working with you. But it doesn't happen in the first month. It doesn't happen in the second month. It's over the course of time that you implement these strategic initiatives to show your clients that you care. And it's also built into the back end of your operations. And this is where going back to the CRM comes into play. And even going back to the onboarding, what information are you capturing on the front end to be able to offer those exceptional moments 6 months from now? Asking them, the birthdays of their children, right? What are their favorite foods? How do they like to vacation? Those are things that you can bank day one of the client engagement that may not be realized until 6 to 9 months later. Your clients will say, my gosh, how did you know that? Thank you so much for remembering me on my anniversary. Thank you so much for acknowledging, the first birthday of my grandchild. Those moments are what really makes an exceptional client experience and will continue to pay long-term because you remember the important things. And the important things are those things that are important to your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I really like about that is I think some people can hear that and be like, oh, that's kind of cold. Like you're kind of being manipulative. But in reality, it's like, no, you do care about them. It's
Absolutely.
just having a system that doesn't put that onus on you to hold it all in your head to deploy those kinds of things. Like I had a client over the weekend have a birthday and I shot him a quick email that was like, hey, I hope you're having a great day. It's your birthday today. Like looking forward, like we were having a planning meeting later that week. It's like, I'm going to talk to you this week, but hope you're having a great day. It's just stuff like that, I had a calendar reminder that told me that, and I'm sure he's aware of that because he's a financial advisor and I'm sure he does that too. But at the same time, it wasn't a canned message. Like it was actually, I took a second and was like, hey, happy birthday, and sometimes if it's not on a weekend, like I'll shoot them a little video or something and wish them a happy birthday. And it does come from the heart. So I think those kinds of gestures are really important. And especially when you're in if you're an advisor who works more like on a B2C level of, working with people, it's the scene effort is something that I think about a lot, that they don't really know all of the work that we do, as a financial professional. Like people, even my own clients who are pretty savvy advisors, like they don't understand what goes into, unless they're a tax professional too, like what goes into getting a tax return correctly done, like really what goes into it. Like we have to do this checklist and look at this box. And for advisors, your clients are the same way. Like they don't understand the technical part, but they understand the scene part, right? They understand like when you're communicating with them and the emotional connection and the trust. And those are the pieces that are seen. And so I think for a lot of advisors, there's this like balance that you have between the unseen effort, which is like the service delivery, that the client's never going to know the hours that you spent researching the platform that you need to know for your portfolio, like for their portfolio management. Like they're never going to see that. They see the happy birthday message. That's what they see.
Exactly.
And so you kind of need to balance both, knowing that you're not going to get as much credit for the hours of, continuing education you're doing, but at the same time, you want to do the birthday message too, because that's what they see. Besides just like portfolio returns and stuff, which they see.
Yeah. Great point, Catherine. And it's those things that make them feel valued and make them feel appreciated, right? You took time out of your busy day to wish me a happy birthday. This is my special day, and you acknowledged me. That goes a long way, right? And at the end of the day, we all want to be acknowledged for who we are. And these are opportunities advisors can use to acknowledge their clients. But you won't be able to do those special moments if you don't think about collecting that information on the front end. And that's why your onboarding is so key, because you have the opportunity to start creating those exceptional client experiences that then contribute to clients staying with you longer, and clients then referring you to others because they're like, you know what, you're different. You're not like the others. I feel like part of the family. And at the end of the day, clients want to know that you care about them beyond their investments, beyond the financial planning, but them as individuals.
Yeah, no, that's great. And using systems to execute that.
Yeah, absolutely. Systems are a great thing to have and can really reduce the overwhelm and reduce the imposter syndrome that you may feel around serving your clients. I see it all the time. Advisors are wondering, am I delivering on a high level? Do clients really value what I'm doing for them? Maybe I'm not doing all the things that I could be doing. Well, if you leverage systems to help support some of those areas that you don't have to remember all the time, that can give you more confidence throughout the client engagement, in particular during the onboarding. And that's where kind of the rubber meets the road, and clients are looking at you and they're excited and they say, okay, now what's next? And if you've thought about those things and using your systems, that's just going to build more confidence in you. And that's going to come out to your clients as well. Because they'll say, absolutely, you know what? You got it together. I'm in good hands.
Yeah, that's great. So for advisors who are interested in learning more about the work that you do, because you've got this expertise in basically bringing in this operational excellence into practices, what's the best way for people to get connected with you, Cameo?
Yeah, so you can connect with me on my website. It's atlasparkco.com, and I have my hashtag or my in the name here on the screen. You can also follow me on LinkedIn or connect with me there, Cameo Roberson. Be happy to chat with you and give you some insights around how you can improve how you're working with clients and really get to that level of operational excellence that you're seeking.
Yeah, I love it. So thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. And for those listening, we're going to post those links nearby wherever you're interacting with this. But I'd love to hear more from the audience, what you took away, any thoughts you have, and ideas that you have, around this particular, operational excellence and what that means to you. So again, my name is Catherine Tindall. This was the Financial Advisors Want to Know show. And thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Catherine.